Hi everybody, it's Lynn from the Swirly Deuce Education Design Team, and I'm fresh back from CHA just busting with ideas. It's such an amazing experience to be able to go to see all the amazing creativity and the new products that are coming out. So it was just a fabulous time, and so I came back just busting with creativity and spent some time yesterday playing, and I'm going to show you how I created this card. It's a Canvas Corp craft card that I started out with, and we have other sundry Canvas Corp product, their linen paper, the mesh, some fluted cardstock, but the crux of this whole card is the modeling cream by Viva that I used in the background. And I had one of those what if moments, so I'm going to share with you what I did. So what I'm going to do is I took a stencil that I have here, and here's my card. And I'm just going to place this over top, approximately where I would like it to be. Then I'm going to take the modeling cream with my palette knife, and I'm going to scoop out some of this goodness, and I'm just going to smear it all over the face of my card with the stencil. Now, when you do this, you can always leave the modeling cream flat, but that just wouldn't be me. So, of course, I have to add a little texture to it. So I'm going to just get this all covered. With all of this creamy goodness. And right before I'm going to take the stencil off, I'm just going to take my palette knife, and I'm just going to pat it up and down. And what that's going to do is it's just going to add some texture to the modeling cream that's on the card. And then I will carefully move that off of there. And there you have the face of your card. Isn't that just yummy? So I have my card covered with the stenciled on modeling cream, and there are some pieces that hang off the edge, so I'm just going to take my good old scraper and just run it along the edge here. Be careful you don't stick your thumb in the wet product. This modeling cream sets up pretty quickly. I did find that if you hit it with the heat tool, it loses a bit of its texture, and part of what we want with this is the texture, because I had a what if moment, and so we're going to set that aside and let it dry, and we'll work on some of the other things. Now, something I was able to get my hands on while at CHA was this Deco Mesh by Canvas Corp, and as you can see in the card, I have used my tattered floral die and cut out a flower for the background. But this Deco Mesh is this very loosely woven yumminess. I'm not even sure what it's made out of, some type of a paper. So when you cut it, it wants to fall apart. However, if you put on a coat of multi-medium on the back, matte, the matte one, it will hold all of these together in a nice little fashion, and you won't lose all the little pieces that are going to come when you cut the flower. So we're just going to put a thin coat, and because this is matte, when it dries, you will not even be able to see that it's on the mesh. Okay, so we're going to set that one aside to dry. The multi-medium has dried, and I've cut my tattered floral flower from the Deco Mesh, and you can see that it's all holding together. I mean, I wouldn't go pulling on it, and you can even crumple it. However, if you were to do that with a piece that's has not had the multi-medium applied to it, you can see that it just falls apart. Now, not that this isn't a bad thing, but it's not what I wanted to happen on my card. To create the flower, the fabric flower that's in the center of my deco mesh flower, I tore off a piece of linen paper, once again from Canvas Corp, and all I did was I knotted the thread, and I'm just going to run a basting stitch all the way along the bottom of this. This is a 12-inch strip, probably by 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch. And so we're just going to do that and pull the thread together at the end. Okay, so I have run my basting stitch all the way around the bottom, and I'm just going to pull the thread until I get my little flower where I want it to be. Fold over the edges of it, and there I've created my flower. Now, what would be a fabric flower without a little bit of color added to it? So I have some Luminart Radiant Rain color concentrate, and the color that I'm using is Jasper Red, and it's got a little dabber on the top of it. So I'm just going to take that, squeeze out some ink, run that right around the edges of my linen flower. And then I'm going to spritz it with a little bit of water. And then we'll let that dry, and there's our beautiful flower. Now, to give my fabric flower here just a little bit stronger backing, I'm just using a piece of scrap paper, and I'm going to cut out a circle. And I'm just going to adhere that to the back of my flower. And then it's just going to give it a little bit more stability. So using a pokey tool, I'm going to just poke a hole through the center of my flower, and then I'm going to put in this big old yummy Kaiser Pearl brad, and there's the center of my flower. Needs to go over just a little bit. Okay, and then we're going to spread its little legs. And now we have part 2 of our flower made. So I used a piece of Sea Flute by Canvas Corp, which is this wonderfully corrugated type paper, and the color is chocolate. And I cut used a Sizzix die, Vine with Leaves, but this is one of those times when this is beautiful, but really it's kind of too big for what I wanted the purpose of it to be. So I'm just going to cut this up into pieces, and then I'm going to spray it with Spanish Moss Luminart Shimmering Mist so that it will have a little bit of a blue, green sparkle to it. Sure to move our card out of the way or we'll have green all over that. So that's just going to add a little bit of green shimmer to the chocolate Sea Flute. So the modeling cream has dried, and really that didn't take a whole long time for that to set up. But you know, I looked at this, I loved the texture of it. But I said, now I want to ink over top of this, but as we know, Distress ink does not stick to a non-porous surface, or at least it's not supposed to. So I used crushed olive and my little ink blending tool and just floated over top of the card, and it just gives a nice color to the background. And I'm going to cover the entire card with this crushed olive, and it just gave it a nice rich color to it. But just to show you, if I take a cloth and I rub this, all of that ink is going to come off of the modeling cream. It might leave a slight residue, but for the most part, we're right back to that ivory color pearl, mother of pearl that we had in the beginning. So I said, I wonder what would happen if pulled out a piece of cardboard, pulled out a piece of trusty sandpaper, and if I sanded those high ridges that I had on my card, we'll wipe off some of that dust. Now I'm going to use a little bit of vintage photo, and I'm going to float that over top, and look what it does. All of those places that we just sanded and exposed are now holding the ink. How much fun is that? Oh my gosh, look at this. Can you see that? That is just so yummy. So I was so excited that my what if worked. So there we have our background, and now we can compile our card. So we have our piece of deco mesh and our little linen flower. The pieces parts from the vine with leaves. That's a little long. We'll kind of cut that off. And with these leaves, what I'm going to do, making sure that these are good and dry, I am going to just put a fold in these leaves to add just another layer of dimension to the card. So we can tuck that up underneath. I'm just pinching them together. Then using 3 pieces of canvas corp cord, I'm just going to tie one of my little loopy bows. Making sure it's good and tight. At the knot, pinch and twist. Then you can separate that all out. I'm going to tuck that up underneath here. Oh, it's all coming together. Now, if you're going to notice that this is because of the knot from the cording, we have a little bit of a slant going on. And what I like to do is just take a pop dot and kind of put that in behind there to level that out. And you might need 2. So I've just stuck the 2 pop dots together, and then that way now my flower will sit evenly on my card. So now we're going to adhere it all down to the face of the card. For the verbiage that I used on my card, all I did was just spaced out the letters. So that they could be cut individually and then adhere to the card. And so there you have it. There is my aha moment with the modeling cream and the beautiful card that came from it. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope that you'll have an aha moment when you get to play, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching. Bye.